Jake Winters sat at his desk, the clock on his wall showing 2:37 a.m. His room was a mess of books, dirty clothes, and half-eaten snacks. The only light came from his laptop screen as he tried to finish his science report due tomorrow. His eyes burned from staring at the screen too long. "This is hopeless," Jake mumbled, running his fingers through his messy brown hair. He leaned back in his chair, stretching his arms above his head. His dorm room was quiet except for the soft hum of his mini fridge and the occasional car passing by outside. Just as Jake was about to call it a night, a strange blue light flashed outside his window. At first, he thought it might be lightning, but the sky had been clear all day. The light flashed again, brighter this time, making Jake jump from his chair. "What the heck is that?" he whispered to himself as he moved toward the window. The blue glow seemed to be coming from the small patch of woods behind his dormitory. His curiosity won over his common sense, and Jake grabbed his hoodie and phone. He slipped out of his room, careful not to wake his roommate Sam, who was snoring loudly on the other side of the room. The night air was cool as Jake made his way toward the woods. The blue light was still there, pulsing gently between the trees. As he got closer, he could hear a soft humming sound, like nothing he had ever heard before. Jake's heart pounded in his chest as he pushed aside some branches to get a better look. What he saw made him freeze in place. There, in a small clearing, was what could only be described as a spaceship. It wasn't large, maybe the size of a small car, but its metallic surface glowed with strange symbols. A section of the ship had opened, and standing next to it was a figure. The figure was about 5 feet tall with bluish-gray skin that seemed to shimmer in the moonlight. It had a head slightly larger than a human's, with large, oval eyes that were completely black. Its body was thin, with long arms ending in hands with only 3 fingers each. "An alien," Jake whispered, his voice barely audible. But somehow, the creature heard him. Its head turned sharply in his direction. Jake tried to back away, but his foot caught on a root, sending him tumbling backward with a yelp. By the time he looked up, the alien was standing over him, those large black eyes staring down at him. "Please don't probe me," Jake blurted out, covering his face with his arms. A strange sound came from the alien, almost like laughter. Then, to Jake's complete shock, it spoke. "I have no intention of probing you, human," it said in a voice that sounded like several whispers layered on top of each other. "My name is Zen. My ship is damaged, and I require assistance." Jake lowered his arms slowly, his mouth hanging open. You speak English?" "I speak many Earth languages. I learned them from your radio and television signals," Zen replied. "Will you help me?" Before Jake could answer, they both heard voices coming from the direction of the dormitory. Flashlight beams cut through the darkness between the trees. "Security patrol," Jake whispered. "They must have seen the lights." Zen's eyes widened. "I cannot be discovered by your authorities. The consequences would be severe." Without thinking, Jake grabbed Zen's arm. "Come with me. You can hide in my room until we figure something out." They ran through the woods, ducking under branches and avoiding the security guards' flashlights. Jake led Zen to the back entrance of his dorm building, checking carefully before hurrying inside and up the stairs to his room. Once inside, Jake locked the door and leaned against it, breathing hard. "You should be safe here. At least for now." Zen looked around the small room with obvious curiosity. "Thank you, human." "Jake," he replied. "My name is Jake." Little did Jake know that helping this alien visitor would turn his ordinary college life upside down, and that this was just the beginning of the strangest friendship he would ever have. Jake watched nervously as Zen explored his dorm room. The alien moved with strange grace, examining everything with those large black eyes. Zen picked up a baseball from Jake's desk, turning it over in his 3-fingered hands. "This sphere, it has cultural significance?" Zen asked. "It's just a baseball. For playing a game," Jake explained, still trying to process that he was talking to an actual alien in his messy dorm room. Zen nodded, placing the ball back exactly where he found it. Your dwelling is interesting. Jake looked around at his unmade bed, the pile of dirty laundry in the corner, and empty pizza boxes stacked on his mini fridge. Sorry about the mess. I wasn't expecting, well, anyone from another planet. My ship needs time to self-repair, Zen said. I estimate 3 of your Earth days. Can I remain hidden here until then? Before Jake could answer, the doorknob rattled. Both of them froze. Jake, you in there? Why's the door locked? It was Sam, his roommate. Just a second, Jake called out, panicking. He turned to Zen. Quick, hide in the closet. But Zen didn't move toward the closet. Instead, something incredible happened. The alien's body suddenly stiffened. His blue-gray skin hardened and turned dull gray like plastic. Within seconds, Zen had transformed into what looked exactly like a cheap alien statue. Jake stared in shock before hearing Sam knock again. He quickly grabbed the now statue Zen and placed him on his bookshelf before opening the door. Sam stumbled in, clearly returning from a party. Dude, why are you still up? It's like 3 a.m. His eyes landed on the shelf. What's that? New decoration. Jake tried to sound casual. Yeah, just something I picked up at the sci-fi convention last weekend. Sam shrugged, too tired to care. Whatever, man. Looks cheap. He collapsed onto his bed and was snoring within minutes. Jake sat on his bed, staring at Zen. Had the alien died? Was this some kind of defense mechanism? He reached out cautiously and tapped Zen's arm. It felt hard, like plastic. After Sam was deeply asleep, Jake whispered, Zen, are you okay? To his amazement, the statue began to change. The dull gray color faded, replaced by the shimmering blue-gray skin. Zen's body softened, and he moved again, stepping lightly off the shelf. What just happened? Jake asked, keeping his voice low. Molecular transformation, Zen explained. A defense mechanism my species developed. We can alter our physical structure temporarily to appear as inanimate objects. That's actually really cool, Jake admitted. So you just pretend to be a statue when others are around. Zen nodded. It is not pleasant, but necessary. While transformed, I am fully conscious but cannot move or speak. The next morning, Jake had to attend classes. He couldn't skip without raising suspicion. Stay here and don't leave the room, he told Zen. If anyone comes in, I will become a statue. Zen finished. I understand. Throughout his classes, Jake couldn't focus. His mind kept drifting to the alien waiting in his room. What if someone found Zen? What if Zen decided to explore the campus? When Jake finally returned to his room that afternoon, he found Zen exactly where he'd left him, examining Jake's textbooks with interest. Your mathematics are primitive but fascinating, Zen said without looking up. Thanks. I think, Jake replied, dropping his backpack. Did anyone come by? The cleaning person entered briefly. I transformed in time. Jake sat on his bed, watching the alien. So what exactly happened to your ship? And why are you on Earth? Zen's large eyes blinked slowly. I am a researcher. My people study developing civilizations across the galaxy. I was observing Earth when my ship malfunctioned and crashed. Will your people come looking for you? Yes, Zen said. But I must fix my communications device first. Without it, they cannot find me. Jake nodded, suddenly realizing the enormous responsibility he now had. He was harboring an alien, one that could apparently turn into a statue at will. His normal college life had definitely taken a turn for the bizarre. Well, Jake said with a nervous smile, I guess we have 3 days to figure this out. Day 2 of hiding an alien in his dorm room was proving more challenging than Jake had expected. He sat on his bed watching Zen examine his laptop with fascination. Your technology is primitive but creative, Zen said, carefully touching the keyboard with his three-fingered hand. "We abandoned physical interfaces centuries ago." "How do you use computers then?" Jake asked. "We connect directly with our minds," Zen explained. His large black eyes blinked slowly. "Much more efficient." Jake was about to ask more questions when his phone buzzed. It was a text from Olivia, his lab partner. "Hey, I'm stopping by in 5 minutes to grab the notes for Professor Wilson's class." "Oh no," Jake muttered. He looked at Zen. "Someone's coming. You need to do your statue thing again." Zen nodded calmly. "Where should I position myself?" Jake glanced around the room. "Maybe on the desk this time, just to mix it up in case Sam notices you've moved." Zen stepped onto the desk and in an instant transformed into the gray plastic-looking statue. Jake still found it amazing how completely the alien changed. If he hadn't known better, he would have thought it was just a cheap toy. A few minutes later, there was a knock at the door. Jake opened it to find Olivia standing there, her curly red hair pulled back in a ponytail. "Hey Jake," she said, walking in. "Thanks for letting me borrow your notes. I totally zoned out during that lecture." "No problem," Jake replied, trying to act normal while hyper-aware of the frozen alien on his desk. Olivia's eyes landed on the statue. "Is that new? I didn't know you were into aliens and stuff." Jake laughed nervously. "Yeah, just something I picked up recently. Thought it looked cool." Olivia picked up Zen, examining him closely. Jake felt sweat forming on his forehead. "The detail is pretty good," she said, turning the frozen alien over in her hands. "The eyes are so realistic. Where did you get it?" "Internet," Jake answered quickly. "Some random website. I don't even remember which one." Olivia set Zen back down, but not exactly as he had been. The alien was now facing the wall instead of the room. "Anyway, the notes," she prompted. "Right," Jake said, grabbing his notebook from his backpack. "Here you go. I need them back by tomorrow, though." After Olivia left, Jake locked the door and sighed with relief. "She's gone. You can change back now." Zen transformed back to his normal self, his skin returning to its shimmering blue-gray color. "That was uncomfortable," Zen said, rolling his shoulders. "Being handled while in transformation state is disturbing." "Sorry about that," Jake said. "I didn't know she would pick you up." Zen stepped down from the desk. "Humans are very curious creatures." "Speaking of curious," Jake said, sitting back on his bed, "can you tell me more about where you come from? What's your planet like?" Zen's eyes seemed to brighten. "My homeworld, Lyrita, orbits a binary star system. Our days are longer than yours, and our gravity is slightly stronger. We live mostly underground in vast cities." "Underground? Why?" "The surface temperatures are extreme. Only our research centers and energy collectors remain above ground." As Zen described his world, Jake found himself fascinated. A civilization that had mastered interstellar travel, mental interfaces with technology, and apparently the ability to transform their physical bodies at will. "How old are you?" Jake asked. "In your Earth years, I would be approximately 157, Zen replied. Jake's jaw dropped. "You're 157 years old. But you seem so. I don't know, young. My species lives much longer than humans. I am considered quite young among my people." Their conversation was interrupted by Jake's phone ringing. It was his mom. He answered while Zen watched curiously. "Hi, Mom. Yes, classes are fine. No, I'm eating properly." Jake rolled his eyes at Zen, who tilted his head in apparent amusement. When the call ended, Zen asked, "That was your maternal parent?" "Yeah, my mom. She checks in every few days." "Family bonds seem important to humans," Zen observed. "It is similar for my people, though our family structures are quite different." As night fell, Jake realized he was actually enjoying Zen's company. Having an alien roommate was terrifying, dangerous, and completely against any normal college experience. but it was also the most interesting thing that had ever happened to him. Jake woke up to the sound of quiet beeping. He opened his eyes to see Zen sitting cross-legged on the floor, working on a small device that glowed with blue light. The alien's slender fingers moved quickly, adjusting tiny components that Jake couldn't even see clearly. "What are you doing?" Jake asked, sitting up and rubbing his eyes. "Repairing my communication device," Zen replied without looking up. "I salvaged parts from your alarm clock." Jake glanced at his bedside table. His digital clock was indeed missing. "You could have asked first." "You were sleeping. I did not wish to disturb you," Zen said simply. "I will reconstruct your timepiece when I am finished." Outside, the campus was coming to life. Students walked to morning classes, and the sounds of distant conversations drifted through the window. Jake checked his phone. It was Wednesday. He had 2 classes today, but the first one didn't start until noon. "How's the repair going?" Jake asked, climbing out of bed. "Progress is slow. Your Earth materials are difficult to adapt to my technology." Zen set down the device. "I need stronger power source." Jake thought for a moment. Maybe we could get to the physics lab. They have all kinds of equipment there. Before Zen could answer, there was a loud knock on the door. Both of them froze. "Room inspection," called a stern voice. "Open up." "It's the RA," Jake whispered frantically. "Quick, statue mode." Zen instantly transformed into his gray statue form, perfectly still on the floor. Jake grabbed him and placed him on the shelf, then rushed to open the door. Mr. Peterson, the resident advisor, stood there with his clipboard. He was a serious senior with thick glasses and an always-present frown. "Quarterly room inspection," he said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "This shouldn't take long." Jake's heart pounded as Mr. Peterson walked around the small room, making notes on his clipboard. He checked the smoke detector, looked under the beds, and opened the mini fridge. "You need to clean this fridge, Winters. It's growing things in there," he commented, making a note. "Yes, sir. I'll do it today," Jake promised, trying not to stare at Zen on the shelf. Mr. Peterson's eyes swept the room one more time and landed on the alien statue. He stepped closer to examine it. "Strange decoration," he said, reaching for Zen. Jake's mind raced for a distraction. "Oh, I just remembered," he blurted out. "There's a leak in the bathroom down the hall. Water everywhere." Mr. Peterson's head snapped around. "What? Why didn't you report it?" "It just started this morning. I was going to tell you after your inspections." The RA sighed. "Fine. I'll check it out. But your room passes inspection. Barely. Clean that fridge by tomorrow." After Mr. Peterson left, Jake collapsed on his bed with relief. That was close. Zen transformed back to his normal self, his skin regaining its bluish glow. "Your deception was effective." "Yeah, but now I need to create a water leak in the bathroom," Jake said, running his hands through his hair. Zen tilted his head. "I do not understand why this is necessary." "Because if there's no leak, he'll know I lied to distract him." Jake grabbed his backpack. "I need to go to class soon, but first let's check out the physics lab. It might have what you need." The campus was busy as they made their way to the science building. Jake had Zen wear his hoodie with the hood pulled up, which mostly hid his alien features. If anyone looked closely, they would still see the blue-gray skin and large eyes. But from a distance, he could pass as a student who wasn't feeling well. "Keep your head down," Jake whispered as they passed a group of students. The physics lab was empty when they arrived, which was lucky. Jake used his student key card to get in and quickly locked the door behind them. "Will this work?" he asked, gesturing to the equipment. Zen moved from station to station, examining the devices. He stopped at a laser apparatus and nodded. "This contains elements I can use. The power source is compatible." Jake looked nervously at the door. "Okay, but hurry. We're not supposed to be in here without permission." As Zen worked, carefully removing components from the university's expensive equipment, Jake kept watch at the door. He knew he was breaking about a dozen school rules, but somehow helping an alien from another planet seemed more important than getting in trouble. "If this works," Zen said as he connected the stolen parts to his device, "I can contact my people. They will be able to find me." Jake couldn't focus on his afternoon lecture. Professor Miller's words about chemical reactions blurred together as his mind kept returning to Zen. The alien was back in his dorm room, working on the communication device with the parts they had taken from the physics lab. Jake felt guilty about the borrowed equipment, but he promised himself he would return everything once Zen was gone. When class finally ended, Jake hurried across campus. Dark clouds gathered overhead, and a few raindrops began to fall as he reached his dormitory. He jogged up the stairs to his room, eager to see if Zen had made progress. But as Jake approached his door, he noticed something strange. It was slightly open. He was sure he had locked it when he left. "Zen," he called softly, pushing the door open. The sight inside made his blood freeze. Two men in black suits were searching his room. One was looking through his closet while the other examined his desk. Zen was nowhere to be seen. "Can I help you?" Jake asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Both men turned. They wore dark sunglasses despite being indoors, and their faces showed no emotion. "Jake Winters?" the taller man asked. Jake nodded, his mouth dry. "I'm Agent Wilson, and this is Agent Clark. We're with government security." The man flashed a badge too quickly for Jake to read it. "We're investigating unusual activity detected in this area." "Unusual activity," Jake repeated, scanning the room for any sign of Zen. "Yes, specifically, unusual energy readings consistent with non-terrestrial technology." Agent Wilson looked directly at Jake. "Have you noticed anything strange lately? Any unusual objects or persons?" Jake shook his head, hoping his face didn't betray his lie. "No, sir. Just normal college stuff." His eyes finally spotted Zen. The alien was frozen in statue form on his bookshelf, partially hidden behind some textbooks. Jake wondered how the agents had missed him. "Mind if we continue our search?" Agent Clark asked, though it didn't sound like a question. "Don't I need to give permission or something? Like, don't you need a warrant?" Jake asked, remembering crime shows he had watched. The agents exchanged looks. "We could get one, but that would involve your name in official reports. It would be simpler for everyone if you cooperated." Jake swallowed hard. "Sure, go ahead. But I have an assignment due tomorrow, so I need to work at my desk." The agents continued searching while Jake pretended to study, positioning himself to block their view of the bookshelf. Rain pounded against the window as the minutes ticked by. Finally, Agent Wilson closed Jake's closet door. "We're done here for now. If you notice anything unusual, call this number immediately." He handed Jake a plain white card with only a phone number on it. After the agents left, Jake locked the door and leaned against it, his heart racing. "They're gone," he whispered. Zen transformed back to his normal self, stepping down from the shelf. "Government agents," he said quietly. "This is concerning." "How did they know to look here?" Jake asked. "Do you think they tracked your technology somehow?" Zen nodded. "The components I used emit a specific energy signature. They must have detection equipment." The alien held up the small device he had been working on. "However, I completed the repairs while you were gone. The communication signal has been sent. So your people know where you are now. They're coming to get you." "Yes, they will arrive tomorrow night." Zen's large eyes studied Jake's face. "But these agents complicate matters. They will likely return with better equipment. We should not stay here." Jake ran his hands through his hair, thinking hard. "My parents have a cabin about an hour from here. No one uses it during the week. We could hide there until your rescue comes." Outside, thunder rumbled across the sky. The storm was getting worse. "We must leave now," Zen said, looking out at the rain. "The storm will help mask our departure." Jake quickly packed a backpack with some clothes, his laptop, and food from his mini fridge. As he reached for his phone, Zen stopped him. "Leave it here. They can track you through it." Jake hesitated, then nodded. He wrote a quick note to his roommate, saying he was going to the library to study all night for a big test. As they slipped out of the dormitory into the pouring rain, Jake couldn't help but wonder if he was making a huge mistake. But when he looked at Zen, trudging through the rain beside him with determined steps, he knew he couldn't have done anything else. The rain poured down as Jake drove his old Honda along the dark country road. Zen sat in the passenger seat, gazing out at the stormy night with fascination. "Your planet has such extreme weather patterns," the alien observed as lightning flashed across the sky. "This is nothing," Jake replied, squinting to see through the downpour. "You should see hurricanes or blizzards." The wipers struggled to clear the windshield as they turned onto a narrow dirt road that was quickly turning to mud. Trees loomed on both sides, their branches swaying in the strong wind. "It's just up ahead," Jake said, pointing through the rain. "My family has owned this cabin since before I was born. We used to spend summers here when I was a kid." The small wooden cabin appeared through the trees. It was simple but sturdy, with a small porch and shuttered windows. Jake parked the car close to the door, and they made a dash through the rain. Inside, the cabin smelled of pine and dust. Jake found the light switch, and a single bulb illuminated the main room. There was a small kitchen area, a couch, a fireplace, and 2 doors that led to bedrooms. "It's not much, but we should be safe here," Jake said, dropping his wet backpack on the floor. Zen moved around the cabin, studying everything with curious eyes. "This dwelling is made of organic materials." "Interesting choice." Jake laughed. "You mean the wood?" "Yeah, it's pretty old school. Let me start a fire to warm the place up." As Jake arranged logs in the fireplace, Zen continued to explore. The alien picked up family photos, examining them closely. "These are your family units?" Zen asked, holding a picture of Jake with his parents and sister at the beach. "Yeah, that's my mom, dad, and my little sister Emma. You appear to share physical characteristics. Is this common among humans?" "Pretty common, yeah. Don't people on your planet look like their parents?" Zen set down the photo carefully. "Our reproduction process is different. We do not have the concept of family as you do." Jake lit the fire, and warm light filled the room. Outside, the storm raged on, rain hammering against the roof and windows. "We should be safe here tonight," Jake said, sitting on the couch. "No one knows we're here, and the agents won't be able to track us without my phone." Zen nodded and sat beside Jake. The alien took out his communication device, which now glowed with a steady blue light. "My people have confirmed receipt of my signal. They will arrive at the coordinates I sent them tomorrow night." "That's good," Jake said, feeling a strange mix of relief and sadness. "So tomorrow you'll be gone?" "Yes, I will return to my research vessel and continue my mission." Zen tilted his head, studying Jake's face. "You seem troubled by this." Jake shrugged. "I guess I'll miss you." How many people can say they made friends with an alien? "Friend." Zen repeated the word carefully. "This concept exists on my world too, though it is rare. Most of my kind prefer solitude." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of a vehicle approaching outside. Headlights swept across the windows. "Someone's here," Jake whispered, jumping to his feet. He peeked through the curtains and his heart sank. A black SUV was parking next to his car. "It's them. The agents. They must have followed us somehow." Zen quickly moved away from the window. "They may have placed a tracking device on your vehicle." Jake's mind raced. "There's a back door through the kitchen. We can escape into the woods." "No," Zen said calmly. "The storm is too strong, and the forest will be dangerous at night." "Then what do we do?" Zen's large eyes blinked slowly. "I have an alternative plan, but I will need your complete trust." Outside, car doors slammed. Footsteps approached the cabin. "Whatever your plan is, do it fast," Jake said, his heart pounding. Zen placed his three-fingered hand on Jake's shoulder. "Remember, no matter what happens, do not reveal what you know about me or my people." Before Jake could respond, there was a loud knock at the door, followed by a stern voice. "Open up. Government security." Jake looked at Zen, who had already begun to transform into his statue form. The alien froze in place, becoming completely still and gray as the knocking continued. Taking a deep breath, Jake went to open the door, wondering how they were going to get out of this one. Jake opened the cabin door to find Agents Wilson and Clark standing in the rain, water dripping from their black suits. "Mr. Winters," Agent Wilson said coldly, "you're a hard man to find when you leave your phone behind." "How did you find me?" Jake asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Your car has a GPS tracker built in, standard in most vehicles these days," Agent Clark replied. "May we come in?" Jake stepped aside, letting the agents enter. His eyes flicked to Zen, who stood frozen in statue form near the fireplace. "Nice place," Agent Wilson commented, looking around the cabin. "Family property?" "Yes," Jake answered. "I needed some quiet to study." In the middle of a storm, Agent Clark raised an eyebrow. "Interesting choice." The agents moved through the cabin, examining everything. Agent Wilson picked up the family photos while Agent Clark checked the bedrooms. Jake stood by the door, his hands shaking slightly. "What's this?" Agent Wilson asked, approaching the frozen Zen. He picked up the alien statue and examined it closely. "Interesting decoration. Looks like the one in your dorm room." "I have two," Jake said quickly. "I brought this one here to remind me of home." Agent Wilson turned the statue over in his hands, studying it from all angles. Jake held his breath, praying that Zen would remain perfectly still. "You know," Agent Wilson said, "we've been tracking unusual energy signatures across this region for 3 days now. They match patterns we associate with non-terrestrial technology." "I don't know anything about that," Jake said. "The strongest reading was in your dorm room," Agent Clark added, returning from checking the bedrooms. "And now here, in this remote cabin." Agent Wilson set Zen back down, but in a different position than before. The frozen alien now faced the wall instead of the room. "We believe an extraterrestrial entity has made contact with Earth," Agent Wilson said bluntly. "And for some reason, it seems to be following you, Mr. Winters." Jake swallowed hard. "That sounds crazy." "Does it?" Agent Clark pulled out a small device that beeped softly. "This detector is going crazy right now. Something in this room is emitting an energy signature that doesn't exist on Earth." The agents looked around the cabin again, their eyes scanning every surface. Jake's heart pounded so loudly he was sure they could hear it. Suddenly, all the lights in the cabin flickered. The agent's detector began beeping rapidly. Outside, a bright blue light pierced through the windows, much brighter than lightning. "What the?" Agent Wilson started, but was cut off as a deep humming sound filled the air. The whole cabin began to vibrate. "It's here," Agent Clark said, pulling out a gun. "Call for backup." Before Agent Wilson could reach for his radio, a blinding flash lit up the room. When the light faded, both agents stood perfectly still, frozen in place like statues. Jake blinked in confusion. What just happened? Zen transformed back to his normal self, his skin regaining its bluish glow. "My people have arrived. They have temporarily suspended the agent's neural functions." Outside, the humming grew louder. Through the window, Jake could see a large ship hovering above the trees, its surface glowing with the same blue light as Zen's communication device. "It is time for me to leave," Zen said, moving toward the door. Jake followed him outside. The rain had stopped, and the clouds had parted to reveal a clear night sky. The ship above them was bigger than Jake had imagined, shaped like a flattened disc with strange markings along its edge. "What about the agents?" Jake asked, looking back at the cabin. "They will awaken in 1 hour with no memory of finding us," Zen explained. All evidence of my presence on Earth will be removed from their equipment and records. A beam of blue light extended from the ship to the ground in front of them. My people will ensure your government does not trouble you, Zen continued. Your assistance to me will be forgotten by all except you. Jake felt a lump in his throat. Will I ever see you again? Zen's large eyes blinked slowly. Perhaps. My research of Earth is not complete. The alien reached into a hidden pocket and pulled out a small crystal that glowed with inner blue light. He placed it in Jake's hand. If you ever need to contact me, this will help. Jake closed his fingers around the crystal. Thank you, Zen, for trusting me. Thank you, Jake Winters, for being my friend. Zen stepped into the blue light and began to rise toward the ship. Jake watched as the alien gave one final wave before disappearing into the vessel. The ship's lights pulsed once, twice, and then it shot upward, vanishing into the night sky in seconds. Jake stood alone outside the cabin, the small crystal warm in his hand. Inside, he knew the agents would soon wake up with no memory of Zen. His alien friend was gone, but the crystal proved it hadn't been a dream. Looking up at the stars, Jake smiled. His ordinary college life would resume tomorrow, but he now knew that the universe was far more extraordinary than he had ever imagined.